Hello there. My name is Consolacion, and I am a composer, arranger, and I'm presently based here in Manila. I write several works for orchestra, choir, instrumentals, and many others, but one thing that is so close to me is writing for choirs and for vocals. So I am very pleased today for the invitation of the PCDA for this choral arranging composition class. I know most of us here are choir conductors, and I have one question to you all. Do you have any instances that you are badly in need of such a music that you can find any good arrangement that will be going to fit on your own ensemble? And you are desperate, you want to call for an arranger, but no one is available to attend to your needs. So this is the reason why I think all the conductors must have a basic knowledge for choral arranging or composition, because the demands of the choral literature or music is very much in need both in schools, in churches, and also in communities. So basic knowledge on arranging helps to save the day. It is always said that to start something is the most difficult task to begin. So for me, as an arranger, you must have to have a fresh ideas, but more than that, you must have a good materials to start with. As an arranger, I always look for something that is simple, something that I can accomplish in a short period of time, especially if the arranging project is something that I have to do in a day or urgent. So in our case for today, I arrange a project for this particular class by choosing the tune from the Irish melody, Be Thou My Vision. I love this tune so much because it represents a great balance in its melody, and at the same time because of its simplicity. To start with your arrangement, it is nice to have a lead sheet with you. Why lead sheet? Because in lead sheet, you only have a melody or some chord suggestions that will going to influence you. There's no much influence than just a melody that you can actually decide and take a look or plan for something that will happen on your arrangement. But first, let me play it to you how this Be Thou My Vision sounds like, so you can have a simple grasp of this wonderful melody. So we just heard this wonderful melody, Be Thou My Vision. So what do we find musically on this wonderful theme? Basically, we find out that this is a slow-paced music. Slow-paced music are in favor of legato and longer lines. So in this case, we have to examine how the phrase goes with this slow-paced music, Be Thou My Vision. I'll play it again. So I see that as a 4 bars phrase. And then the next 4 bars phrase is. And then another 4 bars. and then another 4 bars. So in this Be Thou My Vision, you can actually group these P's to 4 bars, 4 bar space. So we can plan on how are we going to arrange them by looking at these phrases. Now, we can take a look on how are we going to begin this arrangement. First, I would like to begin with a simple idea. And creating actually the exposition of the theme outright is a simple thing to do. So this is what I did. I just stated the melody in 4 bars phrase. Sopranos and altos are singing that. And now with the tenors. And then the altos will have a new part. And then again, remove the melody, the harmony, and just the melody. Then 4 part. With the bass here, stating the melody. And the other voices are sustained. So you have already the first verse of Be Thou My Vision. So I arrange the concept of how I'm going to put some parts based on the 4 bars phrase. And simple harmonizations. I mean, you see the melody with the sopranos, with the third above with the tenors. It creates a perfect blend. Those sticks. So we look at that interval. It's third. And then you added an alto just to stabilize the key. That E flat helps you to stabilize the key. And I love those little clashes there, that mild dissonance. And then sometimes it's okay to drop the harmony and just continue with the melody. Then capture the harmony again. What happened here on the bass is I exposed the theme. And you know something will happen next. Now we're on verse 2, and see the tenors and the bass are singing the melody, and then the sopranos and the altos are doing some harmonizations like this. I like what I said before, you know something will happen. It is because of this bass line that I transferred the melody previously. That one calls for template number 3, that the melody can transfer to any voices. Now the tenors and the basses are doing the melody while the sopranos and the altos are doing an accompaniment. Now, you can use different kinds of syllabications like U, or A based on your preferences about color. These can accompany the melody. So what you do here is you create accords on the female parts, close harmony. But something, again, the passing of the melody, the sopranos resume the melody. And while the altos and the tenors and the basses are doing the humming or the harmony. So these are templates too that you can use. You can pass on the melody and some voices will going to do the accompaniment. Remember what I've said before, that you can pass through all these melodies with different sections. Like the bass will take over, the sopranos will take the melody. In this case, I also encourage arrangers to avoid giving too much parts with the sopranos by them singing the melody all the time. And what I did here is I asked the altos, together with the tenors, basses, with the tenors and the basses in divisi, to create this kind of color. So this is a familiar writing for male voices. So your male choir writing is you have a pretty close harmony. You see the altos take over with that divisi of the tenor. It creates a very well-grounded sound. So it changed the color outright. So can we just listen to it from the beginning, when the basses do the melody, and then the sopranos take over the melody, and then the altos take over the melody without the sopranos. What do we have there? That's actually an imitation of motif. So that's what we're going to talk about for template number 4. Motif is an element, a short phrase that can be probably drawn to the specific melody, or in this case, from the first melody of the Be Thou My Vision. So you see the passing echoes heard in the sopranos and the altos. It creates a natural decay that you can have on the final phrases. So that is a very effective writing when you want to close the section. So let's listen to it again. So the altos is doing the melody, and then the sopranos doing the last melody, and then the altos take over, and the sopranos again, then altos, and again, and the altos. The ingredients is simple. The tenors and the basses are doing the harmony. So if you can add some interesting chords to it, that will be very effective. Template 5. Choir as an accompaniment, and then there will be a solo singing the melody. So this is a very familiar to everyone, the do 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 do. Yeah? Do do do. It's a wonderful template for accompaniment. There are many ways of doing that, but here I present that there is a bass who is doing probably a pedal point. So the tenors follows, and then the altos and the sopranos. So what I do here is I create a certain pattern of accompaniment. So you will really hear that. So it's a pattern. Okay, so let's listen to it with the melody and with the accompaniment. Another set of accompaniment is a block rhythm. So we can do this, and then probably all of you are familiar with da, 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 da. So you can plan all those kinds of rhythm and create an interesting chords like this. So one thing that you have to plan is the cadence. So you have to land on something that is an interesting harmony, like. So you can expand and then you can decrease the sound. So there is a feeling of closing. So here, let's listen to the entirety from this accompaniment and then the black chords with the melody. In this kind of arrangement, it is all right not to have an extravagant climax in the center or probably at the end. What I'm trying to aim with this simple arrangement is to end it very simple. So it is fine to end it with a solo singing just the melody. After all, we started this arrangement by all of the sopranos and the altos singing in unison. So after we have with this melody, with this harmony, with the black chords, then the sopranos can do an ending in unison or a solo. You can actually end that way. Or if you don't want it, then probably you can put a very simple chords at the end so that there will be a feeling of a cadence, like this. A solo, do this one. Then you can just hang it in 3 beats. 1, 2, then the choir enters like soprano and alto, sounding like from the distance, and then the male section. So that is a good cadence for a simple arrangement. Now, we're finished doing this short, slow-paced arrangement. I think it is wise to listen to it as a whole. to wrap up the elements, we must understand that the structure is very important. So you have to plan what kind of templates you'll be using based on the structure of the phrases, and also on how many stanzas are you going to set into an arrangement. Also, one thing that you will observe on this piece is the abrupt modulation. You know, those kinds of unexpected modulation can help you create different feelings or probably colors to the arrangement. So modulations and transferring of the melody from different kinds of voices will add wonderful spices to this simple melody. Hello there. It is also nice to listen and experience a fast-paced music after doing a slow arrangement. In this case, I would like to share to you my composition Stars, which is from the text Laudate Dominum. It's a text from the Psalm 116. In this piece, it is an energetic movement from my work Night Songs. It is a pretty much syncopated piece of music. So there are sections that I would like to discuss to you and how I tried to develop the process of this work by trying to look at it one by one. But first, let's listen to its entirety, this performance of the stars, and try to follow the score. Hello. Now let's go back and take a look at a fast-paced music. After experiencing a slow-paced music and see to it that there is an organization, of course, there is still an organization musically to a fast-paced work. And in this case, let's take a look closer to the stars, or my work, Laudate Dominum. First, let's try to pinpoint what are the structure. Structure is a way that composers organize their music. Like in sonata allegro form, you know that. If you hear a sonata, there is a pretty much structured with it. There's an exposition when you hear the melody of the theme. There's two themes, right, on exposition. And then those two themes can be developed, and that is the middle part of the sonata. And then at the end, it recapitulates. So it repeats again, and then following a coda. Why I'm telling you this? Because actually stars are having that kind of an idea also when how I arrange the structure. Now, you hear that the idea, the very simple idea of syncopation, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, with the piano, and then you have an energetic part here with the sopranos and the altos. It's very effective to have a divided soprano SSA, and then you have a syncopated rhythm. It's very light, right? And then when you take a look at bar 19, you have variations of that idea. And then the texture change when the man enters. Longer notes, because these longer notes hold the rhythm and at the same time the line. So you can combine a longer note and a syncopation, which is actually you can still experience on the piano part. Right? And then here on bar 27, you can see a soloistic passages on the tenors. So it's another contrast, right? And then later on, it will lead into a longer notes to end the first part. In this piece, I started to plan it by having some parts. I have 5 parts for the piece. First is I want to expose the theme or the basic idea, and then on the second is to transition, and then on the third is to develop that idea, and then on the fourth is to create a climax, and at the end, number 5 is the ending. So let's go with that one by one. There is a unique experience every time I hear the 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. I like that rhythm so much. That's why I put that as an ostinato to the piano. And all throughout the entire score, you can hear that ostinato. It is transferred probably on the left hand of the piano, and then probably it can be on the inner voices of the right hand. So you can actually still hear that rhythm. And it is very wise to superimpose that rhythm at the beginning. That's why when I expose my main idea, I have that kind of rhythm. Right? Something like that. So now, the kind of idea, the texture of that kind of idea is very light at the beginning. And then later on, it suddenly developed, but still light, because there is a sustained sound on bar 19. So what is my point here? In a fast-paced music, you can create layering. the layers here on the piano part, the syncopation, can accompany a shorter passages on the voices, and this time with the female voices. And this one is a transition going to the next variation. So right now here you have on bar 19 is a shorter rhythm but accompanied by a longer note value. So it creates different feel, right? So you can combine a longer value and a shorter value to create color and contrast. Transition begins on bar 43. Still, I keep the syncopation. And this time, it is performed by the men. And then again, I still keep the main idea with the female. So you can actually begin your transition by something that is familiar. And in this case, the previous ideas that I have is the one that I use. But the transition, of course, transition is a very short passage so that you can go to the next section, which is the development. Something that you can do with the development is to have an idea that will contradict to the main idea. Contrast. Contrast is very important because it breaks the monotony or the monotonous idea that once presented. In this case, on bar 55, I have a new theme, which is presented by men. If you have that kind of new theme, and that will be an opportunity for you to develop it. That's why I called it as a development section, because it creates a wider opportunity to go to something that is an experience from the listener based on the previous experience. And in this case, it is a combination of a melodic sequence or a melodic sequence and another sequence, and then you add another layer, and then another layer with the soprano with another kind of melody. But when you develop, you can also use previous melodies, but this time you have to dress it up with different kinds of flavor. Remember the longer note value that we have previously? I have it now here. Still with that kind of longer value in a different melodic line. And of course the key is different. So it's very important to the development to change the key. Yeah, so when you feel the key is different and then later on it established again going back to the main key, then you can experience the unbalanced level, and that is how you develop some things. But of course, it will resolve to something, and that will lead to the climax. It is important to have a plan what to do on your climax. Most composers do it and start it with a softer passages going to a loud passages. And that is true to the stars, which you can find on bar 85. In bar 85, you can hear a pedal point that is played with the ostinato rhythm, and then you can see that the longer note values are combined by the voices. The longer values that you have, the more you have an opportunity to create crescendo. And then I added a new layer here, a soprano solo, so that it will open. And then you have a climax there. On bar 91 is a recap of the main theme. It's the same way I write it from the beginning, but observe the tenor and the basses on bar 91. It is the same distribution with the female voices, same placement of notes. This technique of doubling in octaves creates a massive sound. That's one way of part writing or writing stuff for voicing to create a bigger sound. And in this kind of writing, I made it to the point that on the top of the climax, I put that kind of style. Of course, and then the ostinato is still there in the form of a rolling bass, right? And then you can see how it ends. It leads to the ending. It decays. You know, music will not retain always on the top. It needs to go down. And then when you go down, there is a lyrical passages here. Like a very melodic part writing. So it's a contrast of what we have on a rhythmic vocal writing from the previous one. Now we go to the concluding part, which is the coda. It is really important to have a right ending at each piece. It doesn't mean that you have to end it always loud, right? Or probably you can actually end it softer. In this case, I choose to end it really going to pianissimo. No? Totally opposite to what we always known as ending it louder or ending it in a fortissimo. In this case, what I did on bar 107 is I still continue the syncopated of 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. That syncopation is now present in the voices. And then there's a wonderful placement of the notes here. You can see the voicing that is written is in a close harmony. And then you combine a longer value to swell it up, and then you repeat again. Then you have the Then you hear the ostinato on the tenor, on the piano, and then it ends like that. You know? It ends really soft. It decays the sound. In the slow-paced music, we focus on how the notes are connected to one another and how the voicing of that notes, the part writing, can actually affect the arrangement. Whereas in the fast-paced music, we focus on the form, we focus on the structure. Here, we plan the structure. I plan the structure first before composing. And that's very important because the structure is the one that will tell you the story. It organizes the music itself. And at the same time, you can put all your knowledge, all your experiments on how you will voice your music and put them together so that it creates a well-balanced composition. To conclude this lecture on Arranging 101, let me give you some pointers to remember. First, you must listen. You have to listen to different kinds of music. In order to be a good arranger or to experience different kinds of sound, one must expose to different performances, whether it is live or recorded. But of course, now recordings are everywhere. You can always visit Spotify or any music platforms to listen to different kinds of choirs or vocal groups. Pretty sure you will learn from the different arrangers that you will hear. YouTube is also another wonderful avenue to look on new materials. There are some websites that will allow you to have some inspection copies of arrangements. And it is really, really important to take a look at these new pieces so that you can have a grasp on how composers or arrangers write today. Number 2, you have to experiment. Everything is experiment in composition, in arranging. You have to find your own voice, and by finding your own voice, probably you have to combine all those things that you like. Eventually, it will lead you to your own taste or to your own soundscape. But you have to do your first job. You have to sit down, take a risk, and experiment. Remember, there is no right and wrong. Third is to be friend with conductors and choristers. I remember that I have a wonderful opportunity when I was in college to be part of the De La Salle University Chorale in Taft Avenue. And Professor De La Armente, who becomes also a father figure to me and a mentor, asked me several times to arrange for his group. It is such a pleasure, such a joy, and a learning experience for me to hear my own work performed live in front of me, and also to work with the conductor so that he can suggest or probably listen to the group and adjust your arrangement as they progress on their preparation for concerts. Nothing will beat to have your own laboratory of choir. So whether it is a church choir, a community choir, or a school choir, it is always an opportunity to learn from what you have right. And lastly, very important to have a mentor. If you can actually learn composition, it will also help you to become a better conductor. Good conductors can actually analyze the score really well. It's about score reading and about understanding the composition. Trying to interpret music with the concept of how the composer thinks about these works will going to enlighten you more about the technique, about the soundscape, and also the approach on how you're going to do with your music making. Again, thank you very much, and I would like to thank the PCDA for inviting me to do this wonderful workshop. God bless.